Most of us know the basic routine. We clean out a wardrobe, fill a bag with clothes we no longer wear, and drop them off at a charity shop, donation bin, or collection point. It feels like the responsible thing to do, and often it is. But what actually happens after that point is a lot more complicated than most people imagine. A lot of people picture a simple chain. You donate a shirt, a pair of jeans, or an old jacket, and then somebody else buys it and keeps using it. Sometimes that really does happen, but donated clothes can be sorted, resold locally, bundled for export, downcycled into industrial materials, or discarded if they're too damaged, too low value, or simply part of a much larger flood of clothing than the second-hand market can absorb. So the real story of clothing donation is not just about generosity. It is also about sorting systems, resale markets, waste infrastructure, and the sheer scale of modern clothing consumption. The first thing that usually happens to donated clothing is sorting. That may sound obvious, but it matters because not everything that gets donated is actually suitable for resale. People donate clothes in all kinds of condition, some almost new. Some are worn but still usable. Some are stained, torn, stretched, or broken. Some are clean and neatly folded. Some are not. So once clothes enter the donation system, someone has to make decisions. Is this item good enough to go straight to the shop? Is it likely to sell at all? Is it in season? Is it clean? Is it in a style that people actually want? Is it valuable enough to justify the labor of processing it? That means donated clothes are not magically redistributed. They are filtered. They are assessed for condition, resale potential, and market value. And that process determines what path each item takes next. In the best case scenario, a donated item is sold locally. That is probably the outcome most people imagine when they donate. A charity shop or op shop receives an item, prices it, puts it on a rack, and someone else buys it. In many cases, that really is what happens. Good quality second-hand clothing can absolutely find a new owner. That can extend the life of the garment, raise money for a charity, and provide more affordable clothing for buyers. That part of the system is real, and it does matter. But it's only one part of the story. One of the biggest reasons the system gets more complicated is that there are simply too many clothes. Modern clothing production is enormous, and people buy and discard garments at a very high rate. When huge volumes of clothing are donated, local second-hand shops cannot sell all of it. There is only so much rack space, only so much customer demand, and only so many items that are actually attractive enough to resell in a local store. So the donation system has to deal with overflow, and that overflow is where the public image of clothing donation starts to break down a bit. Because once more clothes come in than local shops can realistically sell, those clothes have to go somewhere else. Some are sold in bulk to textile sorters, graders, or resellers. Some are bundled and shipped to other markets. Some are processed for lower value uses. Some are eventually thrown away. This is an important point because it shifts the question. The issue is not just what happens after I donate. The bigger issue is, why is there such an overwhelming volume of unwanted clothing in the first place? That brings us to the global second-hand trade. A significant share of used clothes can end up moving through international markets. Clothes donated in one country may be sorted, graded, and shipped somewhere else to be sold again. In some places, this creates real reuse opportunities. It can make clothing more affordable, support market traders, and extends the useful life of garments that would otherwise sit unsold in wealthier countries. So this part of the system is not automatically bad. There are genuine cases where second-hand clothing is reused and valued. But it's not automatically good either. One of the problems is that not everything being exported is high quality. Some of it is low-quality clothing that is difficult to sell anywhere. Some recipient markets receive more than they can realistically absorb. And when that happens, the waste burden does not disappear, it just moves. Clothes that were donated with good intentions can end up contributing to textile waste somewhere else. There is also the broader question of what large inflows of used clothing do to local industries and local clothing economies. In some places, imported second-hand clothes may provide affordable access to garments. In other cases, they may undercut local textile production or create dependency on external oversupply. So once again, the story is mixed. Export can mean reuse. It can also mean displacement, oversupply, and transferred waste. Another common assumption is that clothes which are not resold will simply be recycled. That sounds reasonable, but textile recycling is much more limited than people may think. Some donated clothing can be turned into other products. It may be shredded and used as wiping cloths, insulation, stuffing, or lower grade industrial material. That does happen, but a lot of this is not true closed-loop recycling in the way people often imagine. A shirt does not necessarily become another shirt. Very often, textile recycling is really downcycling. Clothing is broken down and turned into something of lower value or lower quality than the original product. And even that can be difficult because modern garments are often made from blended fibers, synthetic materials, elastic components, coatings, dyes, and mixed trims. All of that makes recovery harder. A cotton shirt made from one simple fiber is easier to process than a garment made from a blend of polyester, elastane, and multiple synthetic finishes. And much of modern fashion is exactly that: mixed, cheap, and difficult to recover efficiently. So while textile recycling does exist, it is not a magic solution waiting neatly behind the donation system. It has real limits. And that leads to the part people often do not want to hear. Some donated clothes still become waste. They may be too damaged to resell, they may be too dirty, they may be too low quality to justify processing. They may be part of an oversupply that no market can absorb. They may be difficult to recycle, or they may simply cost more to handle than they are worth. When that happens, donated clothes can end up landfilled or incinerated. That does not mean donation is pointless, but it does mean donation does not guarantee a happy ending for every garment. That's one of the most important things to understand here. Donating clothes is not the same thing as ensuring they are reused. It improves the chances that something useful will happen. It creates another opportunity for reuse. But it is still operating inside a much larger clothing system that produces far more garments than the second-hand markets and recycling systems can handle. So is donating clothes still worth doing? Yes, in many cases it is. If clothes are clean, wearable, in decent condition, and likely to be useful to someone else, donation can absolutely make sense. Good quality garments can be resold, reworn, and kept in circulation for longer. That is generally better than sending them straight to landfill, but it helps to be realistic about what donation can and cannot do. Donation is not a magical reset button. It does not erase the environmental cost of producing the clothing in the first place. It does not guarantee that every garment will find a new home, and it works much better for durable, wearable, desirable clothes than for huge volumes of ultra-cheap, damaged, or poor-quality fashion. So in that sense, donation is best understood as a harm reduction, not a complete solution. What really happens to donated clothes depends on a few things: quality, demand, infrastructure, and volume. Some are resold locally, some are exported, some are downcycled, some are discarded. And that means the real issue is bigger than the donation bit. The bigger issue is overproduction. The clothing system produces more garments than local reuse markets, global second-hand systems, and textile recycling infrastructure can realistically absorb. Donation can help manage that problem around the edges. It can extend the life of some garments. It can create some good outcomes, but it cannot fix the scale of the system on its own. So the next time you donate a bag of clothes, the honest answer is this: some of those items may genuinely get a second life. Some may travel much further than you expect. Some may be turned into something else, and some may still end up as waste. That's not a reason to stop donating altogether. It's a reason to understand what donation actually is. Not a perfect solution, but a small part of a much messier global clothing story. If you found this valuable, give me a like. What should I cover next? Feel free to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.